Routines and habits, they're kind of like the efficiency or the effectiveness of how our vehicle moves. Actually, it's kind of almost like how our vehicle is built. It's the quality of the engine, the tires, you get stuck on this journey. But actually, yeah, I am, because that's kind of what we're on a journey. If you think about the routines that you have, the habits that you have, they're accelerating your journey towards your desired destination, or they're actually hindering you. They're almost like, it'd be again, like using this analogy, you want to get somewhere, but you haven't changed the oil and your engine's about to seize up. That's a sabotage on where you're trying to go. Or if you've got one tire that's completely flat and running on the rim, that's going to slow you down and prevent you from getting there. And not only is in a singular issue, like you could say, oh, I got all this stuff going great, but there's this one area or these two areas where I don't have the best habits. I don't have the best things. Well, guess what? A driving on your rim is going to negatively affect other aspects of your vehicle. You're going to have other issues. So just like that, some bad habits and some bad routines, they can also, they'll affect the rest of the vehicle. They'll affect the rest of what you got going on. And you know that to be true. And there's certain habits you have in your personal life that almost sabotage your business success. There could be routines in your business that are actually sabotaging your personal life. Everything affects everything. Now, I'll give you kind of a loose framework for this. So a habit is really an individual thing that we tend to do based on a response. Actually, I think, two of the best books that I've read on this subject, one is Atomic Habits by James Clear. And then before that, because actually James Clear even talks about this book quite a bit in his book, Atomic Habits, is The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. And those two books are phenomenal. And so if you think about using this reference from Charles Duhigg, the 3 R's of habit formation. So this is from Charles Duhigg's book. Okay. And so they talk about this idea, the reminder, the routine, the reward. Now, when I'm talking about routines, I'm talking about something a little different, but the reminder is there's a trigger. There is something that happens. So in this example, they say the traffic light turns green, right? Well, when that turns green, what happens? Your foot hits the gas pedal. And what's the reward? You get closer to your destination. So if you think about everything that we do that is habitual, always has a trigger. There's something that triggers the activity. And actually, let me pull this over. This is actually from James Clear's website. He adds another element to the trigger, which he calls a craving. Okay, so he says a cue, a craving, a response, a reward. Same kind of framework. But the idea is that there is something that triggers the moment. And this is what's super important to realize, is that oftentimes if we have habits, like maybe some bad habits, and we're like, I don't know how to get over this bad habit. Well, what you're realizing is that you're actually, if you focus on the activity that you do, like, oh, I bite my nails, or I go on TV at times I shouldn't, or I just, whatever the thing that you don't really like that you do, you can't just focus on stop doing the thing that you don't like doing. You actually have to back up and realize that there is a trigger or a cue that when that happens, it initiates this thing to start. One of the first things that we can do is start to take a look at, and you might already know, hey, I know I have specific habits that are totally not healthy. These are negative habits, and I got to deconstruct them. So if that's the case, one thing I would recommend that you do is start to journal every time you fall into it, right? If you fall into, in just web surfing and random social scrolling when you don't want to, or watching TV, procrastination habits, any kind of deconstructive habit, is start to journal and have it with you. And every time that you do that, just write down what happened, what triggered that, because it could be oh, I got an email that I didn't want to get, or somebody complained about something, or something happened and then all of a sudden I did this. Now you can literally see the connection. When I have this emotion, when this trigger hits me, I tend to go down this road to solve or to reward or whatever the case, we want to call it, that particular emotion. Then start to think about, okay, well, what could I do instead? What would be like a higher level, a higher self response when that happens? And then also, I want you to actually, as you're looking at these habits and routines, I want you to ask yourself, how much does this help me be the person that I said I wanted to be, or go the place that I say I wanted to go? So I've talked a lot about everyday disciplines, right? We talked about having this grand vision for what we want to accomplish, right? Having these everyday disciplines that we do. That's a big part of what we're talking about. And I love this quote by Aristotle. It says, well, we are what we repeatedly do. Therefore, excellence is not an act, but a habit. It's really true. We are what we repeatedly do. And there's things that we repeatedly do, there's things that there's things that I repeatedly do that are non-intentional. Like, we didn't want them to happen. It's just the way it goes. And if we can just start by being very intentional about, okay, well, now I see it. I do this every day. Why do I do that? Or I always respond in this way when that happens. Now, because we are conscious of that, we can do something about it.